Hey, welcome to another Classic Car Club drive-through. We've got a 2014 Ferrari FF today. This is a car that we had a lot of debate about for a while. We kind of ignored it for a few years, and we all sort of came around at once and said, man, that's a really good car. We're going to get one for the fleet. And it's an interesting thing, you know, Ferrari and Italian manufacturers in general, what makes them great and is also their biggest fault is their lack of compromise. You know, we've seen a lot of cars that they design it for one purpose and one purpose only, and if you don't have the road they designed it on, the car will not behave properly. But Ferrari has learned how to compromise recently. You know, the 458 originally, they made a car that was actually gonna hold up pretty well. They got the magnet ride suspension with a bumpy road button that actually acknowledged that we're not driving around the Maranello test track every day, and it just, they made it so much better of a car because it worked in the conditions that you had to drive in. With this, Ferrari's really kind of shown how far they'll go with making a compromise. They're trying to make a car that will work for all conditions. Ferrari's first all-wheel drive car. It's a front mid-engine V8, and of course, being Ferrari, they couldn't do all-wheel drive the way everyone else does. They made their own clever front mount gearbox that just drives the front wheels. Really strange thing. It's got 2 gears, but somehow they make it slip to match up with the first 4 forward gears of driving. It also is reverse, but you get some 4-wheel drive action in the first 4 gears, and then above 5th gear they figure you should be driving in a condition where you don't need 4-wheel drive anymore, so it disengages then. Clever bit of kit, has 2 clutches that grab the front wheels independently, gives you this torque vectoring all-wheel drive. And what that translates to, and it does it really well, is that you have this full kind of mid-engine Ferrari experience, even if you're driving out on cold, damp roads like we have today. Really amazing. It's also got 2 proper back seats. You know, guys like me with some kids, you want to haul around some extra people. You know, Ferrari has made the car that you can take and kind of do anything with. Get the Ferrari driving experience when you need it, but have something that will get you around wherever you need to go. So we'll get inside and see what it's like to drive. Typical modern Ferrari controls, but things are a lot different with the 458. Again, they kind of took a new approach and revisited and changed a lot of things. So you have a lot going on the steering wheel, but it's all very purposeful. So they've done away with the blinker stock or any stock at all. The only thing mounted to the column is the paddle shifter, and there is a steering column adjust. But you've got blinkers are push buttons at your thumbs, kind of like a motorcycle. You push it to put it on, and then push it again to cancel. Hit the start button, we get going. And then the Manito Switch, which they've had for a few generations of Ferraris, but this switch here controls modes that affect the transmission behavior, the engine management, traction control, and suspension, and they're pretty good and pretty sophisticated. You know, the thing you got to remember, you know, Ferrari, when they're putting in traction control, it's not to babysit you. These guys are, you know, they're developing traction control for F1 cars and stability control at a real high performance level. So all those driver aids are really there to help you. You're not going to do better than the aids. So we definitely want to stay away from ESC off. You're probably most of the time going to be between comfort and sport. And then you even have a wet and a snow mode too. So when you're out in the wrong conditions, again, this is Ferrari making a compromise, making a car that can work for all weather. They've given you the tools to do that, and you should use them. With all those, it will change the suspension dampening. And there's this great button here, the bumpy road button, which I end up using that no matter where I'm driving or what mode I'm in generally. Like if I get a really nice glossy road, I might let it just do its own thing with the suspension. But even the back roads, you know, back here, they might have some cracks in the road and some undulations, and it changes quickly. And it's helpful, and you actually have better performance if you let the suspension stay compliant in those conditions. A big thing that a lot of people do wrong when they start modifying their cars, looking at more performance cars, is they just start throwing stiffer springs and heavier sway bars and make everything too stiff. And you take away the compliance and you can't keep contact with the road with your tires. So 100% a big fan of the soft mode bumpy road button, and it also works great, you know, around town through the city. You get some cobblestone, it will it'll soak all that up too. How to get it into gear and a drive, so you have a reverse button to go in reverse. If you want to go forward, you just pull the plus paddle. You're automatically in auto, but if you want to toggle to full manual, which we'll do now, you push the auto button, and now we've got full control to change the gears the way we want. This is a true dual clutch sequential gearbox, so we get all the benefit of F1 technology coming down to us here. So I'm going to take off. I'm going to start out in wet mode because it's wet. Bit of wet mode, but still a Ferrari. It wants to go. Massive 6.3 liter, 650 horsepower V12. The whole thing is mounted behind the front axle, and actually that's where they make room for the front drive gearbox. So it's a front mid-engine. So you get this mid-engine Ferrari experience in a big kind of 2+2 GT. What they've done by having this compromise and giving you the different modes to choose from is they've found a balance where you really can have that super sharp, seemingly uncompromised Ferrari experience no matter what roads you're on, which in practical application, that kind of suits all of us. So we'll give it a little sport mode, see what that does. Exhaust note change a little bit. Things are going to be a bit more responsive. The other thing they've done well with this car is, while it is loaded up with technology, none of that is at the forefront. You just ask the car to do something, and it does sort of telepathically what you want it to do, without a bunch of theater around the technology. It's all just kind of hidden and doing its job well. These cars shake you in ways that no other car does. They're just something about the sound they make and the feel and the steering responses. Everything's super sharp and visceral, even in this pretty big package where they're trying to make a car you can use for anything. We've actually put Pirelli winter tires on. Not that we really intend to go drive in the snow, but get out on a cold, damp road like this, it's actually really important to have the right compound. You get a summer tire that really kind of turns to plastic below 40 degrees, and you'd be skating all over the place. But these tires are doing their job to grip the road even when it's just a little bit damp and cool. So we can still get out here and have a good driving experience, and the car, tires, suspension, totally composed, doing their job and putting the power down. Hats off to Ferrari. They made something that, if I only had 2 kids, maybe this would be my family car.